Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, the 1st of February, and it is my assembly again. And I am doing this assembly from in front of my bookshelf on purpose because, as you all know, our value for this half term is curiosity. And reading is one of my favourite hobbies, and I know it's yours too for a lot of you. So I thought I would bring some books to my assembly today. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that I've got from my bookshelf. Some are mine, some are my children. And they're all my favourite books. I've got lots more, but I thought I would read you the first paragraph or two of each of these books in the hope that it would feed your curiosity, and you will either recognise the book and remember a time maybe that you read it, or you will think, oh, I'd love to know what happens next, and feed your curiosity that way so that you will maybe ask me if you would like to borrow the book, or maybe you have the book at home, or maybe we have it in school that you could borrow as well. So let's get started. I'm going to start with this book, which has the largest kind of cover. And this is a book that I'm hoping some of you will be very familiar with. I might show you a couple of the illustrations as well, because that will give you a clue. So, the night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind. And another. His mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, I'll eat you up. So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew and grew. And grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world all around. I'm going to stop there. Do you know what that book is? Do you know what is under the cover? So that is book 1. Have a little guess in your head or jot it down in a notebook or a whiteboard. We're going to read the next one now. So this is a book. Let me see, I'm going to choose the next one. This is a book that was given to my daughter by her teacher when she was in year 2. So she is now in year 10. So it's a little bit older. It was given to my daughter Ivy because she also loves to read. Now, to show you, just as a quick clue, a little note from her teacher. So it has been on our shelf all that time. The Reader of Books, Chapter 1. It's a funny thing about mothers and fathers. Even when their own child is the most disgusting little blister you could imagine, they still think that he or she is wonderful. Some parents go further. They become so blinded by adoration, they manage to convince themselves their child has qualities of genius. Well, there is nothing very wrong with all this. It is the way of the world. It is only when the parents begin telling us about the brilliance of their own revolting offspring that we start shouting, "Bring us a basin, we're going to be sick." So there we are, book number 2. Can you think what the title of this book might be? Have a think. Put it back on my pile over here. Right, book 3. Another favourite of mine, but actually I only read this in the last few years, and some of you will have also read it. I wonder if you remember. I think this is a fantastic book. Chapter 1. My story begins with me sitting on a bed looking out of the window. I know that doesn't sound like much, but let me tell you where the bed is and what I can see from it. This bed is right in the corner of a room, only just big enough for it. And the bed is only just big enough for a kid my age. 12, just about to be 13, and skinny. The window is the size of the whole wall, made of special tinted glass that means the room stays the same temperature all the time. The room is locked shut and you need an electronic key card to open the door. If you could open it, you would be in a long corridor with absolutely nothing in it apart from cameras in the ceiling and a fat man in a purple jacket and trousers sitting opposite on a plastic chair, sleeping most likely. Book number 3. I'll give you a quick clue for those of you that are familiar with it. There is a picture. There is no title to the first chapter, but that might remind a few of you. Okay, book number 3. Book number 4. I'm sure some of you will know this one. Whoops, I had it upside down. So another book that I've had for quite a long time. You can see that the pages are going a bit yellow. Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck, although he did have a very large moustache. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful as she spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on the neighbours. The Dursleys had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion, there was no finer boy anywhere. There we go. I'm sure lots of you have guessed that one. And the last book I have today is one of my favourites. I don't think any of you will know this. If you do know it, I shall be thrilled. You might know books by the author, a different book by the author, but he's written about 4 or 5. So at least. So here we go. Chapter 1. My name is Erin Law. My friends are January Carr and Mouse Gillane. This is the story of what happened when we sailed away from Whitegates that Friday night. Some people will tell you that none of these things happened. They'll say they were just a dream that the 3 of us shared, but they did happen. We did meet Heaven Eyes on the Black Middens. We did dig the saint out of the mud. We did find Grandpa's treasures and his secrets. We did see Grandpa return to the river, and we did bring Heaven Eyes home with us. She lives happily here among us. People will tell you this is not Heaven Eyes. They'll say she is just another damaged child like ourselves, but she is Heaven Eyes. You'll know her easily. Look at her toes and fingers. Listen to her strange, sweet voice. Watch how she seems to see through all the darkness in the world to the joy that lies beneath. It is her. These things happened. January, Mouse, and I were there to see them all. Everything is true. So listen. There's a big clue to the title of the book in the first paragraph there. I wonder if you picked it up. So that is book number 5. Let's see how you have done. So book number 1. Do you remember? This was the large one. Let's have a look. Pull off the cover. My birthday. Where the Wild Things Are. I think this might flip it backwards. So hopefully you got that one. That was book number 1 with Max in it. Book number 2. Now this is the one about parents. Describe. And it is Matilda. Did any of you guess that one? and the reader of books. That was starting to describe Matilda herself. So that was book number 2, a fantastic book. Book number 3. Now I know that this was a core text at Forest last year, so I'm hoping you will remember. We have some beautiful displays up. The writing now comes from this. So this was The Last Wild. Fantastic book as well. I think that was our year 5s read that last year. So if you want a recommendation, go and speak to a year 5. We were now in year 6 to see what they thought of the book. Now this one, I'm sure nearly all of you will have recognized the opening chapter, although maybe some of you haven't read the book. Maybe some of you have just seen the film. So let's pull off the cover. Those of you that can read mirror writing. It is Harry Potter. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the very start of the story. So as you could see, it was a very old version of the book. And finally, this is the one I didn't think anyone would get. It's a book by David Almond. So if you have read Skellig, you may have recognized the writing style. But this is a book called Heaven Eyes, and we hear about the girl called Heaven Eyes in the first couple of chapters. So if you want a really good book to read, this is another fantastic story. Any book by David Almond is fantastic, in my opinion. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's made you want to read some of the books that I've shared with you today, or maybe you could do something similar with the children in your class, and share a book that you have read to see if you can make other people curious about reading it as well. Have a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing some of you. And yeah, stay curious, Forest. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.